Yo, what is up? At first I didn't get why this Vaxee Ninjutso collab, but after playing around with this mouse for a month now, I get it. This is the best wedge shape out there, and in this video I'm going to explain why. But first, here's my use case scenario. 10 hours plus a day, my hand size 21 by 12, temperatures in the 90s or 32 degrees average. It's 28 right now. Pretty cool night. The humidity is 67% right now indoors. Outdoors it's 80 plus outside. I've got a sweaty fingertips and a clammy hand, but I've got a soft, relaxed grip. So let's talk about the specs and the battery life. Now, Vaxees have a reputation for being great wireless performers, but I got no facts to back this up. It's just something people keep repeating to me after watching some reviews, or maybe they were the first to implement long distance mode or something. Maybe they renamed it to competitive mode. I don't know. Or maybe it's because they are in close proximity to the makers of the PixArt sensors, and maybe they get the first dibs on the newest updates. Who knows? Nevertheless, you are getting the latest and the greatest 60-gram mouse, with a 3950 sensor and a Nordic 52840 MCU with 38 hours of battery life in 1K competitive mode and a maximum of 110 hours in standard mode. So competitive mode does suck out a little bit of your battery life, but 110 hours in standard mode is absolutely insane. It only takes as well 50 minutes to charge from zero battery life, so that's pretty awesome. Now, if they came up with some kind of hybrid system like the Razer Synapse, where the mouse can automatically switch from standard mode to competitive mode, and 1K polling for productivity, and automatically switch to 2K polling for gaming, that would be a game changer as far as specs go for the Vaxee Sora. Now let's talk about the shape and size. This is of course the most popular shape in 2024. This famous wedge shape that almost every brand has their own take on. Now, Ninjutso is the clear inspiration here. So if you're a fan of the X2 shape, the VXE R1s, the XM2s, then this is going to be right up your alley. Now in 2023, the XM2WE was my choice for mouse of the year. So it's very easy for me to like this wedgie shape. In fact, my daily driver is the VXE R1 right now, and it is almost the same thing, but slightly different here in terms of the shape. So you might say I have a little bit of a bias here. It's got a 57.3 millimeter grip width, which is like compared to the VXE, it has a 59 millimeter grip width, and the Sora V2 has a 56.5 grip width. So if you are coming from a Sora, the Sora V2, the Vaxee Sora will have a little bit of a 1 point something millimeter wider grip than the Sora V2. Now the trigger height is also 1.5 millimeters taller than the Sora V2. The Sora V2 was at 20.02. This is closer to the 18.5 19 millimeter grip height, but as I mentioned in the blind test, it would be not easy to differentiate between the two. In the hand, it feels almost inseparable. Now, maybe the most noticeable difference is probably the overhang you can get out of the M1 and M2 buttons. If you have bigger hands, it's going to be quite useful, because that 1-2 millimeters of overhang is just going to give you a little bit more contact with the M1s and M2s. On with the build quality. The Vaxee Sora is very well built, and some people say it is one of the best brands that build solid mice. However, this is not my own personal experience. I had a very disappointing experience with the NP01S, and that was not just 6 months ago. The unit was very squeaky with normal gripping pressure, which meant I couldn't use it without it being annoying every time I tried to click it, because even when I actuated the M1s and M2s, it was squeaking. The Vaxee Sora, on the other hand, has flawless QC, but the trade-off is of course the additional 20 grams over the Sora V2. But a 60 gram mouse is still very capable, very acceptable, and it still fits into the lightweight category. Now, as for the coating, it is a very neutral kind of coating, on par with any other rubberized coatings out there. It's on the mild side and feels exactly like the NP01S coating. It is very sweat resistant and smudge resistant. As you can see, I've got very sweaty, clammy hands, fingertips, and it's not leaving any kind of residue or sweat. It immediately dissipates, so that is pretty good in my opinion. But I would still suggest that you wipe down your peripherals, your mice, every day, because the sweat generated from your fingertips and hands are actually very corrosive, and over time it will degrade the coating and cause it to maybe prematurely yellow, or maybe it will reduce the tackiness that you get out of the rubberized coating, because as the sweat corrodes the surface, it will also take out that rubberized coating. So clean your peripherals regularly, often, every day. Wipe it down if you can. That's my advice to you. Anyway, let's move on to the buttons. Now, I got no information on what switches are being used, but I'm pretty sure they aren't the Omron Opticals. I'm just kidding, there's some dad jokes. These sound more like Huanos or Kales. They're great, and although I love how the Omrons feel, I've got no problems with whatever these switches are. Let's take a listen. Now, on the front, they are a little bit bouncy, and there's a little bit of a bouncy feel to the actuation process. See that? It reminds me a little bit of the R1 Pro and R1 Pro Maxes, but this is right in the front, and after some breaking in, that bouncy feel seems to have tamed down a lot. In fact, actually right now, it doesn't feel like it's there anymore. So maybe it was just out of the box, it was feeling a little bit bouncy, but right now it feels almost perfect. The side buttons are great. Let me give you a sound test. They have like a wall behind the buttons, so it kind of feels like it stops the button from traveling further inside. Most mices or budget mices, they kind of sink in a little bit, and this one has like a wall there, so it kind of feels like a razor button implementation. You can feel there's something physically stopping the button from depressing any further, so that kind of gives it a premium feel, which I appreciate. What is being less reported is that 9mm scroll wheel. It reduces the silhouette, makes it very low. If you compare it to the other mice or my VXE right now, you can see how tall that scroll wheel is. I think this is an 11mm scroll wheel versus this is a 9mm scroll wheel. So what happens is that it gives it a sleek, kind of like a sleek silhouette. it's one of the most important highlights about this mouse for me, because I found this feature to be actually very useful. Being able to just roll my finger, my index finger over and actuate the wheel, whether I'm scrolling it or I'm actuating the middle button. It's pretty convenient for me, which brings me to the biggest downside of the mouse, and that is the lack of ability to custom assign the mouse 3, mouse 4, mouse 5 to some kind of shortcuts. Now, I did hear that some web UI is coming, so I'm hopeful that this feature will elevate this mouse even further. Now, next up, let's talk about the feet. If I'm being honest, the stock feet are kind of meh. They're not terrible, but they don't look or feel like the highest quality. In my opinion, I feel like they could have used the ones from the Skyrox V8 or HitScan, and that would have given them a better performing experience and overall better value for their customers. These are just, they're okay, but they're not what I would say the best or premium. As far as performance and value goes, I feel like after people watch this video, they're going to be flocking to the Vaxee store to pick up this Sora for themselves. Now, I cannot overstate how satisfied I am with the Sora and also the overall outlook of the Vaxee brand as a whole, who have seemed to be cooking behind the scenes, and every release in 2024 seems to have gotten better and better, from their shapes to their build quality and their upcoming web UI, where I can finally custom assign these mouse 3, mouse 4 and mouse 5 buttons. I feel like Vaxee have leveled up in their game and is now kind of like securely in position to challenge these legacy brands out there. And 2025 is going to be a huge year for Vaxee, as they are, as you can see for yourself, they're on an upward trajectory, and I'm looking forward to bigger and better things for them. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video and took some useful information on the Vaxee Sora, and I will see you on the next video. Bye bye.